Hello, welcome back to Sacred Vapes. Channel aims to bring you the views and experiences of products on the market today, brought to you by an average vapor. Now this week I've got another tank review for you guys. I'm hoping to bring a few over the next, I'd say about 5-6 weeks, given on time to really use them. So I've decided to bring a tank that is quite a big launch. It's part of a multiple launch schedule the company's had so far. We're going to start with the tank because it has got a lot to talk about. It's this, the Voopoo Maat tank. Now, Voopoo, as said, they're releasing quite a few products over the next few weeks. Would have heard of the Drag 2 Platinum, and there's the Alpha Zip, there's the Nano, there's the Baby, there's all sorts. And in amongst all these is this little interesting device. It's the Voopoo Maat tank. It's got some clever ideas. It's the new kit tank that they've released. I think it's a standalone as well. So, before we get into talking about it, let's give her a vape. Now, before we get into all the details, what you get. This is what the box looks like. Nice, simple design. On the back you have your contents, warning, scratch cards, etc. And on the side you get your social media links. Okay, so we'll get the box open now. Now, tank's normally next to you. Mine's here, but I do have a second one. I have got an Alpha Zip kit here as well, so I've got a tank to show you up close. But you get spare O-rings, you get a 2mm glass. I'll explain the capacity in just a moment. Get a user manual, which is here. And you get two coils. You get the MT-M1 and the MT-M2. I think there's an MT-M3. Basically, the M1 MT-M3 is the amount of coils that you get. So M1 is the single mesh. This is an unused one I've had out of the Alpha box. But the M2 is a dual mesh, and the M3 would be a triple mesh, which doesn't come included. M1's rated 0.13 ohms, between 50 and 85 watts. The M2 is rated 0.2 ohms, and I think that's rated 60 to 80. I can't tell you about the triple mesh off the top of my head. So, what does the tank look like? Well, there it is in all its glory. You have bottom adjustable airflow. You have a non-standard drip tip on top. It's an 810, but it's one of those connections where slot over rather than slot in, so you're not going to be able to easily replace that. It's, if I can find the button, it's a top fill design. You press that button there, you can see, push that in, and that slides off, revealing a fill hole. Now, capacity is 4 mils or 2 mils with the glass you get in the box, and imagine the TBD version will come out as 2 mils as standard. Now, the idea behind this, there's two little clever ideas that they brought with it. First one is the way the coils insert. Now, to operate it, you simply unscrew the base plate, as you can see, and there's your coil, and your coil just simply pulls out. So there you go, dual mesh. That's what it looks like. But yet you simply push it in and lock that back up. It's a little bit fiddly, but yet simply turn and you're done. So yeah, that's about the tank. Now, I want to mention the other clever idea that they've got with it is it's a juice well inside the coil. Now, if you actually look at the tank itself, it's like a metal casing inside. Now, the coil obviously slots into there. Now, the idea that they've got is that there's a liquid that goes inside of that shell inside. So what that does it prevents dry hits because it's giving you that little bit of extra juice inside, so you're less likely to dry hit if the tank runs empty. But is it a good tank? Is it well worth the hype the Voopoo are pulling about it? You know what? We'll get into the pros and cons now, and we'll break down exactly how good it is. Now, the first pro for me, it's well worth mentioning, the flavour. It's a very, very smooth vape. That is fair to say. I've noticed with these pushing coil type tanks, that seems to be the leading factor with the vape. You know, the Crown 4 did it. This one does it. For me, it just means I'm chain vaping it a little bit more because you're losing that slightly bigger throat hit that you'd get from another sub-ohm tank. But yeah, the flavour is really nice, and the flavour feels fresh, it feels crisp, because the tank feels very metallic, which might sound weird to you the way I describe it, but you know, a tank feels like a tank to me, but when it's an overloaded metal tank, it feels metal. So that's where, again, the cleanness, the sharpness seems to be coming from for me. But yeah, very, very nice flavour, nice vape. Lovely vapour production, that's a 70 watts. So yeah, big fan of that. Next pro for me is going to be the airflow. The airflow ring nice and easy, and as you can see, there's lots of airflow, but it's not loud. It's really not a loud airflow. I know it isn't like a completely wide, but then if the coils are going to be set between 70 and 90 watts, you don't need a massive amount of airflow when the focus seems to be on the flavour. So that's a pro for me. Next pro is going to be that juice well. It's a bit of a pro and a con for me, but in terms of a pro, sorry, but in terms of a pro, it means that you don't get that dry hit, and it does seem to give an extra mil of capacity. So if that's covering the 4 mil, there seems to be a mil that then goes inside. So you'll notice it when you're filling it. It'll fill up to the top and then it'll drop. So that it's putting enough liquid in there to really keep saturating that coil to give you time to refill. So that's a pro. Next pro for me is going to be that fill hole design. So the buttons are a little bit fiddly to press, as you've seen me do. But what that means is that there's not going to be any accidental openings, because you're less likely to get something very specific pushing in that very specific slot. So another pro for me, as I say, the fact that it's not going to come over in your pocket. I've had no actual leaking from the coil, so that's a pro. Breaking them in, I'd say breaking them in is going to be looking at about a tank to a tank and a half. That's when I started getting the smooth, clean flavour coming through. Again, sorry about that. But yeah, it's very, very clean flavour, performs really well, great vapour production, feels really high quality. I mean, it is heavy, but it feels really solid. And yeah, it's just a nice, easy tank to vape on. So we'll get on to the cons of it now. This is where I found it a little bit interesting. The first con for me is going to be, well, for me personally, it's too smooth of a vape. I prefer that little bit of a throat hit. The fact that this is very smooth, you know, if something like that appeals to you, especially if you're vaping low nicotine, you know, you're really going to enjoy something like this. Next con, sorry, is going to be, there's a little bit of juice dissipation when it comes to the bottom of the tank. Now, there isn't any leaking of sorts, but I will say occasionally it can feel a bit greasy down here. Like there's a little bit of liquid coming out there, but not leaking in the sense of it's just flooding out. It's just maybe the way the tank's designed, a little bit comes out and then just forms there over time. Then you do notice it after a while. Next con for me is going to be, it's a bit of a strange one, and it may not happen to you, But both coils, it's done it to me for, and I can offer an actual fix for it, is that the coils do seem to just give up. And the cotton's normally really white. I mean, this is... Let me just get this open. I mean, the pro for this is that the liquid doesn't just pour out when you pull the coil out. So, it's actually easier to get the liquid out the top than it is the bottom. But if you look there, as you can see, I've been using this for about a week and a half now. I used a single mesh one for a similar amount of time. So as you can see, the cotton is still fairly white. It's not... It's still fairly white. It's not burnt up. But I found both coils, they kind of just gave up. Like the flavour just massively dropped. And you kind of get that, it's not a dry hitting flavour, but you get that sort of unpleasant dry taste from a vapour. It's almost as if you're vaping straight Fiji. So I think that might be the way the coil is wicking inside the tank. It's not oversaturating it like other tanks do. So maybe it's just an angle, maybe leaving it at an angle and the tank's half full. That's what triggers it. But I have found a fix for it, or at least a fix for me, and that was simply to resaturate the coil with your liquid. So pull it out, pour some liquid down the middle, put it back in, and it seems to kick it back into life again. And yeah, I've had to do it once with, to be honest, the single coil I kind of just stopped using after it happened. But I've done it once with this a couple of days ago, and it's still working fine again now. So a little bit of a strange one. I can't really offer a scientific explanation why, but if it does happen to you and the cotton's still fairly light, just resaturate the cotton inside and it'll work again. We'll mention the weight of it is a bit of a con. You know, it is a heavy tank on top. Fits perfectly with the mod, but if you're on a smaller device, this might overbalance it a little bit. And other than that, there's not really any other cons as such. So, because as I said before, everything works well. Coil life's great, flavour's great. It's just a little bit of the juice dissipation at the bottom. It's just a little bit of an issue with the coils. So, we'll get into the overall of this now. And overall, it's actually a really good tank, this. It's how good of a tank it really is. It's really hard to really say, because when you compare it to other tanks in the market, it doesn't stand out as such. It doesn't have the best flavour, but the flavour is really, really good. You know, the capacity isn't the biggest, but I'm sure you'll be able to pick bubble glass up in the future. The airflow's not massive, but then you don't need it. In terms of a kit tank, this is sort of retracing steps when I mentioned the U-Force T2 tank. And for a kit tank, if you're picking up the Alpha Zip and you're getting the tank in the box, it could well worth sticking with it. It will really do you well. I'd highly recommend it as a kit tank, but full thoughts on the actual mod will come probably next week, I'd imagine. But yeah, the tank itself performs really well, really nice flavour. Would I recommend picking it up by itself? I don't know. And that's not a negative for the tank. It's just that there's so many different tanks on the market now. It doesn't really stand out on its own merit with like other tanks do. But as I say, you pick one of these up in a kit, especially if there's another drag coming out in the future that they pair up with the mat. And yeah, you'll absolutely love using the tank. You know, the coil life alone, you're going to be getting a full month's worth out of them, as long as you keep resaturating when you need to. But yeah, you saw the coil life after a week and a half, and it's not burning the coil up, you know, with clear liquid. So would I recommend this tank? Maybe not as a must-purchase tank, but certainly in the kit, you'll absolutely love it, and it is a really high-quality tank from Voopoo. Is it better than the T2? I'd say yes. Based on the flavour alone, the flavour alone makes it better. It is a really nice flavour coming from it. So yeah, that was the I was going to U-Force then. that was the Voopoo Maat tank. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As I say, I just wanted to talk about that by itself simply because I thought it was a really interesting tank that Voopoo have brought out. Now, coming up over the weekend, I'm going to be bringing a review on the Vaptio Tyro kit. Check out for that. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to bring you another special video, depending on whether I can get it finished in time this weekend. But certainly check that out. And yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. Drop a like on the video. Let me know your thoughts below. I'll link what I'll do is I'll link the U-Force review after this to give you a good idea of what I thought about that. But as I always say, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Stay safe. And keep vaping.